Okay. All right. Well, welcome everybody to chapters 9 and 10, the halfway point in 21 laws. So, bravo for everyone who is hanging in there, plugging in. Bravo to anyone who is jumping in and just picking up where you're at and coming in on this study. So, a couple little things as we get started here. Number one, if you're able to put your video on, I would love that. I love real faces. If you can't, I understand. I have been there. I have done that. But if you can, love to see you as we're going through. Let's start with a little exercise here. So stretch if you need to stretch. And let's get our index finger. This one right here. Okay, index fingers are going to go up, and we're going to practice a little motion that's going to be very important for tonight. We're going to take a little diving motion. This is the motion we're going to employ as we unmute ourselves because I will have questions. And if somebody answers them, it's going to be so much more fun than if it's just a monologue by me. So now that we've got that all practiced and we're all ready to go, the law of magnetism, which boiled down is who you attract, is not determined by what you want. It's determined by who you are. Part of this law I absolutely love. Part of it scares me just a little tiny bit. So let me give you the glimmer of encouragement and hope that I see here. Not glimmer, it's more than that. I'm going to be working both from the book and from the workbook because I have both. And in the workbook, he had a little paragraph that says, it is possible for a leader to go out and to recruit people unlike him or herself. In fact, good leaders know that one of the secrets to success is to staff their weakness. That's the part of the law that scares me, but that way they can focus and function in their area of strength while others take care of those important matters that would otherwise be neglected. But it's crucial to recognize that people who are different will not naturally be attracted to you. Leaders draw people who are like themselves. I think that there's a lot in this law that we can leverage. And there's also a lot of, there is that piece that we can attract people that have strengths that we don't have, that complement our weaknesses because we have similarities. They're drawn to us in different areas. When I look at my team, I see all sorts of different strengths and weaknesses, but we do have commonalities in some of these other areas that he goes through and talks about in the chapter. So I find that to be encouraging. It's not that you're only going to attract little carbon copies of yourself, because there are no carbon copies of yourself. We all have different strengths, weaknesses, personalities, things that we bring to the table, but chances are you're going to be attracting people that have some commonality with you in these different areas. And the other encouraging thing is that we can grow in these different areas to attract people who are even better as we ourselves become better leaders, better people. So, what are those areas? I am curious as to whether there tends to be more diversity in these areas in a business like Plexus than there does if you're in a business where you just go out and hire people, because there's a little bit more of an open door of a whosoever will that's involved in Plexus. So that's just something that I'm a little bit curious about as I looked through these things. And I think also that these categories are really good for us to think through, because as our teams get larger and we have more levels, maybe our level ones are very similar to us. but I'm guessing as we get more levels, and it's certainly true in my team, that there are more differences in some of these areas. It's just, yeah, it's really interesting to see, and yet there are commonalities as well, that have held true across the levels. But I'm sure as teams get bigger, there is more diversity in these areas. So these are just things that are good to be aware of, good to have on our radar screen. The first one that he mentioned is generation, probably one of the ones that I see least in my own team, because I do feel like even amongst my level ones, there are definitely differences in generation. Although, certainly as we are honing our niches, there is commonality that we share with people that are in our same season of life, whether that be, young, newly married, or like me in the thick of raising children, or empty nesters, or whatever. Guessing that the bulk of the people in our circles, even though not everyone is going to be in our same generation, a lot of people will. Oh, let's see, Megan mentioned page 92. You want to unmute and share what you were referring to?
Oh, yeah. I just thought it was interesting when you were talking about diversity. He, in like the half of it, the page down on page 92 in the workbook, he said people attract and are attracted to others of similar background. Blue collar workers tend to stick together. Employers tend to hire people of the same race. People with education tend to respect and value others who are also well educated. This natural magnetism is so strong that organizations that value diversity have to fight against it. I just thought that was super duper interesting, because with the push, or the, I don't even know, the inclusion laws or whatever, where they have to hire so many of like a certain gender or a certain race, kind of regardless of qualifications, just to like fill those spots in order to be diverse as a company or team or whatever. And it's interesting too to think in Plexus terms, because this is definitely like an open door, but also when we think in terms of the law of magnetism, I mean, it kind of makes sense why our teams are very similar to us, but maybe more diverse as they deepen and stuff, and maybe get other people and, other, if you have teams from other countries, that's definitely diverse, but yeah, super interesting. I just remembered where he mentioned that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it is interesting. And I think, even within the diversity, I think there are still some commonalities that tend to hold true. He was mentioning a couple points down in the area of background, how the NFL used to have predominantly white leadership. So all the head coaches were white, and then because they value diversity, they started to interview from a larger pool. But aside from that, even when they had different, to use the commentary, different racial diversity in their coaches, the background of the coaches was all very, very similar. So I think even in the diversity that we see, we might be different in generation, but maybe we've got a similar attitude, or maybe we have similar values there. I think it's interesting to see which things tend to be more diverse, and which things we still have that strong connection, strong similarity.
Mm-hmm.
So did you want to say something?
Oh, I was just agreeing. And the generations guy that spoke at convention,
Mm-hmm.
he spoke again for us in Hawaii, and it was just really interesting to hear him again, and just to recognize that the generations like kind of speak a different language, but how I don't view it as a negative thing. Like, I actually really appreciate the people on the team that are in that next like generation demographic. I don't shy away from those people, because in my book, the people that are 45 or 50 plus come with life experience, character built over the years, relationships that they've built, influence, just a lot of good things, and I've seen that age demographic of people do it differently than me, which is really cool. Like a lot more in person, because I think they're in a stage where they can meet at the coffee shop a little more freely than someone like me that's home with children and can't prioritize that, every day. So it's interesting,
Yeah, it is. All right. The next one that he mentioned was attitude. People with a positive attitude or people with a negative attitude. That one's definitely, I think that one's a stronger one in what I've seen or in my book than generation, because people with a really negative attitude can get really annoyed with people who have a very positive attitude, and vice versa. If you have a strong positive attitude, someone who's always pointing out the negative is, probably going to drive you bonkers a little bit. So yeah, there again, attitude is contagious, and we tend to attract people that are similar in attitude to ourselves. So it's an area that we definitely work on cultivating, on tweaking, on growing in being positive, realistic, but positive and hopeful, and we tend to attract the same type of thing. Wasn't a lot I wanted to say on that one. Background, we talked about a little bit. Values. This one I think is a big one. Again, I see being more of a strong thing within Plexus than generation per se. I don't know about you guys, but I think for a lot of us, values is part of what attracted us to Plexus as a business. If you value integrity, you're going to be more excited about a company that has integrity, about a team, about people. If you value excellence, if you value character, those are all things that were attractive to me. The high value that Plexus places on relationships in their business plan was something that I found very attractive. So, and again, this one, as he pointed out, is positive and negative. People with really negative values tend to attract people of similar negative values. So that's another strong area that I feel like can even bridge some of those differences and some of those gaps, whether it be generation or background or whatever. If you have similar values, that creates a strong connection. Energy. This one was interesting, not one that I would have thought of. People of high energy, people of low energy. I kind of got a little bit of a giggle out of this one, being more on the low energy scale, just via personality tests and life experience. Because I think Megan is definitely more of the high energy personality. Interestingly enough, my direct sponsor is Justin, who's probably somewhere between the two of us. So has anyone ever heard the story related to chronic illness and spoons? This is something that I read via a friend on Facebook who was talking about helping people relate to their chronic invisible illness, and saying that their energy was like a handful of spoons, and whatever they chose to do, they were going to be taking a spoon away. So if they were going to go out to eat with a friend, getting up to take a shower, they're taking away a spoon. Doing their hair, taking away a spoon. And the friend that they were explaining this to was very chagrined. And I was reading through this thinking, well, doesn't everybody think about life that way with, calculating the amount of energy that everything is going to take and what the payoff and trade-off is? Apparently not. So I enjoyed just some of I was listening to Brittany Howard's, one of her run-throughs of this study, because she's done it with her team multiple times. And I appreciated her discussion around this topic and bringing awareness to it. And even, I don't know, as the lower energy person, there have been times where I've felt like I ought to be high energy. And just realizing that we are the way that God created us. And the question isn't, how much energy do we have, but what are we going to do with it, and how will we steward it well? So that I thought was interesting. I'd be interested to hear from folks in the chat if you know where you fall on the energy scale. If you're a high energy person, that tends to plow through things really quickly, or a low energy person. Still figuring out the strengths attached to that, although I guess we naturally know a little bit more how to rest, maybe out of self-defense and desiring to be capable, functioning humans. Okay, so anyway, moving on, giftedness. I wrote in here skills as well as giftedness, because I feel like with Plexus, you don't have to be super gifted. Yes, we all have giftings and they all bring something to the table, but you don't have to be a super gifted person to develop these skills. So once you have developed some of these skills, once you've practiced these things and you're learning and you're growing, it's like you've attained a certain level of giftedness within this industry. Oh, I'm going to take a little minute here. So we have some high energy, some lower energy, but yes, lower energy, but happy and excited. So you don't see it that easily. Yeah. I feel like I would fit there too. And then, yeah, some kind of in the middle. Are high energy people always energized by people? I know extroverts are. I tend to be on the lower energy scale, but I do get energized by being around people because I'm an extrovert, and that fills my cup and yeah, I gain energy being with people. It's not a drain to me. It's one of the ways I've heard extrovert versus introvert explained.
So
anyway,
extroverted
giftedness,
person. Question.
People.
I have a question. So extroverts aren't necessarily high energy. Like, that's just how they relate to people. Right?
Yeah, that's kind of the way I've seen it. Yeah, explained.
So the high energy, low energy is relating to what? Like how they expend energy throughout their day?
Yeah, probably. And I think pace and output is kind of how I
see.
thought of it as I was reading to what's their pace of life, what's the pace of their schedule that they can maintain and take in stride. Do they have a high volume of output very easily or not? So
yeah, maybe like bandwidth. Like some people's bandwidth is wider than other people's. Yeah, interesting. Okay, didn't mean to interrupt. I think there was a delay.
No problem. Yeah, I'm hoping that my internet is holding strong and not messing with things too much here. So anyway, encouragement. People value people that have giftedness, that have skill. And if you have been in this for a while, you have gained some skills. If you've sent out some messages, if you've conquered some fears, if you've heard some no's, you guys have skills to bring to the table. And you will attract people that value people that are skilled in what they do. Leadership ability. That's why we're doing this study, right? Part of it is because we want to become better leaders ourselves, which in turn will allow us to attract people who are better leaders themselves, who value that and appreciate those type of things. So, get a little farther on. If you're dissatisfied with the leadership ability of the people you're attracting, then embrace the law of process. And work to increase your leadership skill. If you want to grow an organization, grow the leader. If you find the people that you attract are unreliable or untrustworthy, then you examine your character and work on that. So, and then he also just reiterated, work at recruiting people who are different from you to staff your weaknesses. You can attract people that are unlike you, but it requires a high degree of intentionality. So I thought that was, both illuminating and encouraging. And he just kind of wrapped it up saying, it depends on you. Become the kind of person you want to attract. All right, let's see. I'm going to pop in here. Yeah, people have been surprised when I say I'm introverted. I need to regroup after being with several people. I love being involved and around people, but sure need a break. Yes. Yeah, that's kind of my understanding of introverted, extroverted. As you know, it's not that introverts don't like people, it's just that it requires more energy or it's more draining, or you're recharged and refueled by being alone. Whereas an extrovert can be refueled being with people. Not that we never need alone time, because we do as well. Yeah, extroverted, introvert. Yeah, there's people that are stronger on the range. Some people that are very strong introverts, very strong extroverts, and then some of us who are kind of closer to the middle. Okay, couple questions. Which of the common ground areas has the strongest draw in deciding whom you follow? Any thoughts on that when you are choosing someone to follow? Which of those different areas is most important to you? Listen, Megan said values. I probably gave myself away on that one already.
When you say who to follow, who do you mean to follow? Are you talking following someone who we want on our team, or following another leader to learn from them, or following someone on social media, or which one of those?
Good question. I think he's talking about following a leader, someone to learn from,
Okay.
and not necessarily even in business, but I think he's talking about someone that you want to follow in a leadership position. What's important to you in a leader? I think that's the kind of the take on that question here.
For me, I would say someone who's very positive. Negativity drains me and wears me out very quickly. Someone with integrity. I guess someone that I admire and see qualities in them that I would like to be like and emulate. Those are some of the things.
Yeah, I would agree with that in my own, that values and attitude are really important to me. And giftedness would probably be one of those things. When you talk about things that you want to emulate, they have some level of skills or giftedness or character that is admirable.
Yes. And also what they've accomplished. I mean, if you've seen them reach their goals and they've accomplished things, that's encouraging to kind of tell you you can do it too, if you put the work in.
Yeah, so like background, track record, they have some
Mhm.
some track record of having accomplished some of the things. Yeah, knowing the way and showing the way, right? Let's see, Teresa said attitude and values. Melody's popping off for another Zoom. Yeah, they're all important areas, good areas to be growing in. Another question I'm pulling from the workbook. Which of the common ground areas do you find attracts the most people to you? I thought that was an interesting question. Does anyone have any idea as to which of those areas might be an asset that you possess? Linda, hear quite often that people respect and trust me. So that would probably come from values, from attitude, from background. I think having some leadership qualities can generate trust in people. Giftedness. Those are all things that can contribute to that. Okay, just things to be aware of, to think about, something for reflection. The last question I'd love to hear your input on: how can you work to become a more magnetic leader? Thoughts on how we grow in those areas. I think one of them we're doing tonight, right? We're working to build our skills to, something like this grows us in our self-awareness, our awareness of our strengths, our awareness of our weaknesses in the areas where we still want to grow. Those are assets that we can use to, yes, as Teresa just said, develop your skills. Megan said, read, get coaching, follow magnetic leaders, follow those people who are and exemplify what we want to be. Yes, good. Okay, that is what I had on that one. So let's move on to the law of connection, which I love. Law of connection. Let's see. So this one I think is so valuable, especially in a business like Plexus. When you have a volunteer army, when you're working with people on something as personal as their health, their goals, their dreams. I mean, it doesn't get much more personal than that, right? We're covering everything from bathroom habits to, your wildest dreams. So making a connection is very important. It's very important for all leaders, but I think for us, more so, even more so, even more. So when it comes to working with people, the heart comes before the head. Now we know where that saying comes from. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, because it's right here in this chapter. For leaders to be effective, they need to connect with people. You can't move people to action unless you first move them with emotion. So some things that that really just popped out to me, that I had underlined even from a previous study, were that good leaders work at connecting with others all of the time. But this isn't a one and done thing. It wasn't we've connected before, but this is something that we're continually working at, being connected to the people that we are working with. Yeah, so I'm going to pop to questions here real quick. Do you guys agree with the author that leaders must touch a heart before they ask for a hand? And explain or give an example. Thoughts on that one?
Which number was that?
This one I popped over to the Laws of Leadership workbook. And he asked if you agree that leaders must touch a heart before they ask for a hand. I do agree, especially in the realm of Plexus, that a connection is important, because it's not like a traditional boss type of thing. Everyone is their own boss, but we will follow inspiration, we will follow vision, and we follow people that we've connected with, that we know are trustworthy, that we know care about us, that we know are in tune with us and our situation. Those things are motivating, and those things are things that we will follow, and that others will follow as we develop those things with them, as we develop a rapport and a connection, and show that we care about them and we value them, and we want to know where they're at and how they're doing and how we can help and support them. Teresa said, what I found is relationship is important because you have an ongoing connection. Yes, we're not a short-term make a sale type of business. We are a connection, relationship, ongoing business. Yes. Another question here where I immediately had an example pop into my mind. He asked, in your profession or area of service, who has mastered the law of connection? How do you react when you hear this person speak? Okay, who was at some form of the Momentum meetup on Saturday? Online, virtually, in person? Okay. In our little group, when Genevieve's Corey came on scene on the TV screen, there was an instant audible reaction from everybody in the room who had heard her before. There was one person in our group that had never heard the chance to hear her, but everybody else, myself included, we laughed, we giggled, we had this audible reaction when she came on the screen, because she has mastered the law of connection. We've seen her a number of times over the years, so we've had the opportunity to connect. She is a high energy person. She is a positive person, and she's connected with us. I'm thinking specifically through humor. She's very relatable. She's funny. She's engaging. And as soon as she came on screen, we all had a reaction because we've connected with her. We know what she brings to the table. We're just ready for what she has to bring. So when I was reading that question, I was like, Genevieve Scory. She is a very giving, relatable, funny person, and what a great example of someone who has mastered the law of connection. There's different ways to connect with people, and another thing I appreciated about Brittany Howard's recording, she was talking about that she feels like she knows she's connected with someone when she's made them laugh. And someone else said, well, I'm glad that's not the only method of connecting with people, because that's not me. I don't always make people laugh. And I would have to second that. I have I don't know, my sense of humor. If I say things with a straight face, if you don't know me well, people take me seriously. I'm like, I was joking, people. That was a joke. Please don't think I meant that seriously. So there are other ways of connecting as well, but humor is a big one. Humor, authenticity, vulnerability. Those are all things, especially when you are in a speaker and an audience type of situation, which is a part of this business. We don't always get to talk to people one-on-one. Sometimes we talk with groups, like right now. Sometimes you need to talk with your team. So knowing those things and developing those ways to connect are helpful and important. Okay, let's see here in the comments. Yes, Megan said it's harder to influence people's thinking if there's no connection. And that was something that he brought out a little later in this chapter that just stood out to me. Oh, he said, if you want someone on your side, don't try to convince him, try to connect with him. I totally underlined that because yeah, those of us who tend to be very logical and in this business, we don't want to be sitting there trying to convince people. So just big underlines, bold stars, highlighting, connect with them, because that is so true. Let's see. Linda said, Genevieve Scory is very fun, but also proven. How amazing she is at training and adding value to all of us. Yes, that was a big part of why we responded to her, because we know, yes, she's going to be funny, she's going to be fun, she's going to be high energy, but it's also really good when she speaks. She has something, she has a nugget, she has something valuable. We've received valuable things from her in the past. Megan said, I love connecting with people that make me laugh. Those people are so fun. Yes. All right, let's see. 60 keys to connection. There were different ones in the workbook, or maybe just a different order than in the book. So I'm going to go back to the regular book to work through these. Interestingly, so he was talking about connecting with people, whether you're in a large audience, whether you're in a small group. The first one being connecting with yourself. Interesting place to start. You must know who you are and have confidence in yourself if you desire to connect with others. People don't heed the call of an uncertain trumpet. Be confident and be yourself. If you don't believe in who you are and where you want to lead, work on that before doing anything else. That was just interesting, going back to just being comfortable and accepting of the way the Lord has made us. That doesn't mean being accepting who we are is not our sins. Who we are is not our struggles, but there are things that God has put in us, that He has given us, our personality, some of these other unchangeables that knowing that they are gifts from Him and that they were on purpose and with a purpose, and that they are good gifts, gives us that place of solidity and confidence from which to reach out to others. And just knowing that we don't have to be Genevieve Scory in order to connect with people. We don't have to be XYZ. We love these people. We enjoy them. We relish what they bring to the table. But we can be good connectors too, in our own ways with our own personality. So I just thought that was encouraging, an encouraging reminder that we can work up and we can develop these skills and bring them to the table in our own way, in a way that's authentic and true to us and who we are. I'm not going to be the one that gets up and puts people in gales of laughter, but that doesn't mean that I can't connect with folks. And, the same for us. Megan said, I mentioned similar after the Momentum Meetup video, we can bring us into Plexus and not have to be somebody else. Yes, because trying to be somebody else makes us less authentic, less vulnerable, less connectable. So number 2, communicating with openness and sincerity. I love this comment because I thought it was so true. Nothing is more effective than sincere and accurate praise. Nothing's more lame than a cookie cutter compliment. Getting to know the people that we work with, getting to really see them allows us to be able to speak specific words of encouragement and praise. And it's harder work, especially for those of us who aren't super super intuitive into other personalities and stuff, but it makes it that much more valuable when we are able to see specific traits and communicate the things that we see. Appreciated that. It's an area I'm still working and wanting to grow in, because it is so valuable. 3, know your audience. When you're talking one-on-one with a person, that means getting to know them. Learning about their background, learning about their interests, learning about their needs, things like that. When it's with a group, it's learning what they need and what they value. So kind of basic, but important. Important. Live your message was number 4. That's where credibility comes from. Sharing out of our true beliefs, our experiences. I remember, so early on, doing a Silver in 7 from Tamara Holloway, and how motivating and encouraging it was when she was saying, I am doing this with you. We're going to go and we're going to send these scary messages, but I'm doing it too. That made it was just a whole different dynamic than her sitting there saying, this is what you need to do. She was saying, no, I'm in the trenches. I'm going to be sending the scary messages. I am right here with you doing the same things. That gives you so much more credibility, and it's just so much more inspiring and encouraging. Go to where they are. He was talking about barriers in communication, doing things that we can do that are within our control, to make it easy to connect with us. This just brought a goofy little example to my mind. When I'm working on the computer, I have some different pairs of blue light glasses that I absolutely love, but I don't like wearing them on calls and Zooms because they reflect the light in this goofy way. And I don't feel like, I'm like, that's like, how do you look at somebody who's having light reflect off their glasses? Makes me crazy. So most of the time for Zooms, I ditch the glasses because I want people to be able to look into my eyes and, be as connected as we can, even though we aren't sitting there, face to face. So it's a silly little background, but if there are little things that are, inhibiting communication, look to get beyond those things. I know you look cute in them. I like my glasses. I think they look cute, but don't like the reflection. Focus on them, not on yourself. This one just made me think of my mom. She was an excellent communicator, excellent connector. And lo and behold, she made us do all of these uncomfortable things in high school that when I joined Plexus, I'm like, oh, that was personal development. All of those things that all of her teenagers really resented and disliked and fussed and fumed about doing, that was personal development. Look at that. So she was my first personal development class. And one thing that she taught us was the importance of asking questions and asking people questions about themselves. until we found, something. You can tell when you've hit on a topic that people are passionate about or that people enjoy. You found something, because all of a sudden they will open up and they will start talking to you, and that develops a connection. That's how you get to know people. I don't know how to get to know people without asking questions. It's just kind of part of what you do. So um there were 4 questions that Brittany Howard shared that I thought, oh yes, these are so much like my mom, but they were good questions to get to know anybody in person, online, wherever you want to get to know and you want to strike up a conversation. Where are you from? What do you do? Why did you go into that field? And what do you like about what you do? I thought those were fantastic, very mom-esque questions that can really help you to get a conversation going, to get to know someone, to make a connection with people. And isn't that, it's what we want to do. Plexus rewards us for doing it, but it's just a good life skill to have. It's part of how we can express love to people by showing an interest in them instead of being self-absorbed and in our own little worlds. So believe in them. I thought this was a really, really good and interesting one. That's one thing to communicate to people because you believe you have something of value to say. It's another thing to communicate with people because you believe that they have value. People's opinion of us has less to do with what they see in us than it does with what we can help them see in themselves. This is an area I thought, wow, this is one where we all want to be, where I want to be, growing in helping people to see things in themselves and working on communicating those things that we do see in people. Okay, let's see. Checking in here. What were they? The blue light glasses? Yeah, I'll have to
So the
explain
things
that.
your mom made you do.
Oh, what did mom make us do? Talk to people at church that we'd never talked to before. So that was people outside of our circle, people that were older than us, people that were younger than us, just outside of our comfy little circle of friends. We would have to start up a conversation with someone we had not talked to before. And then she would ask us while we were having lunch after church, who did you talk to that you haven't talked to before? What did you talk about? That was where I learned the value of having questions. As I'm, as a teenager working to strike up a conversation with someone who's outside of my little ring of comfy church friends. But such a valuable skill. And I thought of that. My mom was very, very good at finding the odd man out, the quirky person, the person with dyed spiky hair and gazillion nose rings. If there was ever any person that looked out of place in a group, she was right there, engaging with them, drawing them in, making them feel welcome. And there are very, very few people that she could not make smile. It was something that I definitely appreciate about her. Yes, life skills. Justin said she made him feel so loved. Yes. Let's see. What Meeting with Tamara Hallway is recorded? Old series, Silver in 7. Definitely, it's recorded. It's out there. It's good stuff. People love to talk about themselves and what's important to them. Yes. So asking those questions to find out, to untap those things that they value. I'd be terrified to do that as a teen. Yes, it was uncomfortable, and no, we did not like it. And we all survived, but did we die? No, we didn't. Mom never heard that saying, but she would have loved it. Okay, let's see. Offer direction and hope. Oh, this is so true. Leaders, as we said, leadership is simply influence, and hope is a powerful influencer. So yeah, when you give people hope, you give them a future. All right, let's see. There were some good questions. Did I already cover them? It's the leader's job. Successful leaders, leaders that are not positional, not depending on a title, but are really, truly interested in leadership. They obey the law of connection and they're always initiators. They take the first step with others and then make the effort to continue building relationship. And those are some of the things that I had highlighted because I thought they were so, so good. As a leader, find times to make yourself available to people. I love what you call walking slowly through the crowd. Okay, a couple little questions kind of bring this home and we'll wrap it up. How long does it normally take to connect with someone? Describe the signs of connection. I thought that was an interesting question. What things make you guys feel like, oh, I've connected with this person. We've connected.
Some people are hard to read, I think. Like, I don't know, I'm just thinking about some people I know, and when they're listening, they're kind of like stone-faced. You're like, am I connecting with them or not? But so I don't think that we can always judge that because we may actually connect, and then it's maybe different if you're one-on-one versus, speaking to a crowd. But maybe not. I don't know. I just always appreciate when people are mirroring back to me, and maybe they are mirroring back to me and I'm stone-faced. I don't know. But when they're interactive, helps because it makes, even like, I'm just thinking, even connecting with the co-op kids in the group, I'm noticing even like some of the men that have come in to the kids and how their level of connection, well, one in particular's level of connection is great, or a couple of them actually, but they did some activities to connect to the kids really quickly, which I thought was super wise because they came in not knowing the kids at all. So I don't know, it's interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And you said body language, expression. It's just interesting, and it is influenced by personality somewhat, especially if you're speaking to a group. It can be hard to gauge. I remember one time I was talking, and there was this guy sitting there, and he had arms full of stone face. Pretty sure he had a beard. And I thought, whoa, he does not like what we are saying at all. I was doing a talk along with my next younger brother. And we got to the very, very end. And I forget if we had a question and answer time or something like that. And he piped up and he said, well, I just want you to know that I really appreciate what you guys had to share. And it was excellent. I'm like, well, good. I'm glad to hear that because I sure couldn't tell it from your face. I didn't say that, but yes, some people are hard to read. But yeah, it's just something interesting to reflect on. I feel like, when there's been some back and forth, I feel more connected. If we've shared about a common experience, a common emotion, in those times where I've asked a question, I feel like I've unlocked some area of interest, and you can tell because they're excited and they're sharing about it. And those are just some different things. I was thinking, how do you know if you're connected? Those are some different things that make me feel like, yeah, we've got some connection. We've got some rapport. Question, I haven't reflected on this one, I don't think. Which of the 6 keys connection do you do best? Which is an area of weakness. Why? So it's kind of asking strengths and weaknesses. Anyone as they were going through here think, yes, I do that. Or that's easy for me. Or on the other hand, think, I'll work on that one. I had a couple of want to work on that ones that I think I shared as we went through. How about on the strength side? Does anyone see an area of connecting strength? Which doesn't mean perfection, just means strength. Linda Lee, I'm a good listener. That one is a strength. That one goes in the focusing on them, not yourself. If you are a good listener, it's because you can focus on someone else and you value them and you're giving them that real, genuine attention. That does create communication. And it's so, no wonder people find it easy to trust you, because that is such a connection building, relationship building thing. That is a huge strength, and especially in Plexus, because Plexus is way more important to be a good listener than, it's a huge skill. It's a gift and a strength for sure. Okay, well, it's probably a good one to wrap up on, a good one for us to give a little reflection to, find those areas of strengths that we can build on. Look for those areas that are like, yeah, I want to grow in that one. It's been such a good study. I pretty much just want to grow in everything. Some areas more than others. All right, so 7:30, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for your time, for sharing your insights and contributions. Linda Lee says, I feel like I have learned a lot. Yes, I was so excited to do this study again, because every single time, these are big life skill topics, and there is always more to learn, bringing things back to mind, being refreshed in things, learning them at a different level, because we're in different places than we were last time we did the study. And there's so much more to be gleaned, different things that stand out, different life experiences that we've had since the last time. So anyway, good stuff. And next week would be chapters 11 and 12. So good stuff coming up. Thank you all for popping on, and have a great night.